Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Cloud Capsule Partner Spotlight. My name is Daniel Johnson. I'm the Global Channel Chief for Cloud Capsule, and I'm happy to be joined by our CEO and Microsoft MVP, Nick Ross.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Honored to have Dustin and Julie from NIE join us. I'll let them introduce themselves. Julie, you want to introduce yourself first?
Okay, I'm Julie. I've been with NIE about a year. I'm our sales and marketing lead. We are an MSP based out of the Chicagoland area, and Cloud Capsule has been a great partner to us, and we're happy to be here.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your role, Dustin.
Yeah, so I've kind of wear a bunch of hats here. I kind of went from help desk field to CTO. Right now, I'm kind of more doing learning and enablement, kind of teaching our users how to use our platforms, how to use our tools, try to become more efficient with their day-to-day.
That's great. As we jump into our conversation here, I think it's super helpful for us just to kind of understand a little bit of the backstory of NIE, some of the clients and markets that you serve, and kind of how you approach service to clients. And I'll let you, Julie, maybe you can start us off with part of that journey, and Dustin, maybe you can give us the backside version of that too.
Yeah, we've been around about 25 years. All of our help desk sits out of the Chicagoland area. Something that's been very beneficial to our clients. All of our on-site is free. We believe in fixing issues and not running from them. So as a salesperson, it's nice to sell a product that I really stand behind. Our team is always willing to jump in, and our people are really what differentiate us. I know a lot of MSPs say that, but our guys are always willing to help and jump in when necessary. I think how we go to market is a bit different. We have two packages. We try to make it very transparent. You know what you're getting with us. And if there's something you don't want, we advise you take our recommendation to keep all our clients safe. So security and safety is our main priority, and keeping your company safe is what we believe in. I'll let Dustin fill in the gaps though, because he's been here a while and knows the rest of the backstory.
Yeah, so I've been here for about 5 years, and like Julie mentioned, Network It Easy as a whole started right around 2000. A few partners got behind Dell and Gateway. We're selling servers, transitioned into break fix, doing some VAR type things. Got into Microsoft resale. Really hammered the Exchange Online, and now we've transitioned more into the traditional MSP service, transitioned a lot of those T&M customers up to contracts, and just kind of getting everyone up to one level playing field. And now security is always changing and evolving. So now we're kind of going back and using Cloud Capsule to kind of see where everybody is and kind of get everyone up to par with those baselines now.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, and I want to double click here on the go-to-market that you mentioned too, Julie, in the sense of the differentiation there. I'd love to have you unpack that a little bit more, just in the sense of, those two packages, and more so too, just on how you market them, obviously to the clientele, and then, how they channel and fit into those products as well.
Yeah, when we were backed by Lyra 2 years ago, people were on different packages, receiving different service. Our help desk team was struggling with identifying what clients had what services through us. So it's been a transition. We now have a managed service, which is our complete IT, and then a co-managed where, if you have a full team, we're happy to work alongside them. But I think a lot of times in the MSP space, it's very hard to tell what you're getting. And what is covered under your package and not. Transparency is something we really believe in. Our core values are people first, customer centric, and keeping it real. And I feel like we've done a good job of going to market as that. And it may not be a good fit for everyone, but the clients we do have, it's a good fit for them. Going back to the marketing side of things, this is our first year with true marketing, social media presence. My background is not in marketing, transparently. So this has been a very good growing opportunity for me and NIE, getting our staff on board with marketing efforts and learning why we need new clients, why we need good clients, and why our ideal customer is who they are. So it's been a great educational piece all around. We've done really well at associations, getting in front of people. Chicago has a huge manufacturing space. And that's where we've poured a lot of our efforts in the past year.
Nice. Well, I love the simplicity of the two packages there. I think a lot of MSPs get, built up into, we have, 16 different offers and we do all you can think of. It's all you can eat as far as our service model goes. And that's kind of, at the end of the day, not only confusing, for the client, but also I think a lot of it leads into, just a distraction, right, from kind of your core service offering. So that's pretty cool. You guys have narrowed that down. On the marketing front, what have some of those learnings been like, so far, just kind of getting started, or some of the pain points you guys have tried to overcome in that regard?
Well, we redid the website this year, which we
Okay.
did internally. So it was myself, Dustin helped with a lot of the back end things, and then an account manager helped us a ton with it. We didn't have a contact form up until about a year ago. So we've now been generating the occasional web lead, which is a salesperson is always nice. Once the website was up, January, we started LinkedIn pretty heavily, at least getting 1 to 2 posts out a week. And this upcoming year, my hope is to get at YouTube Shorts going, and getting some of that spun up. YouTube seems to still be a place people are going to find answers, and we have a lot of knowledgeable people that I'm really trying to bring in and have them speak to what they know, because Dustin and I can't be an expert in everything. So as many people as we can get on board, we're trying to do that.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely a proponent of YouTube. That's contributed to where we're at today as a company ourselves. So I'll never knock that in that regard. But with those packages you guys offer as well, I'd love maybe Dustin to speak to this one of what does that client engagement model look like? When you talk about the touch points that you're having with those clients, and specifically if we could double click maybe on the security side, right? Of what do those conversations look like with customers today, and how are you approaching that, today as well?
Yeah, so as Julie mentioned, there's been a lot of change over the last few years after being acquired. And one of those things we're introducing or have introduced over the last year are account managers, and trying to have that, relationship with the customers and keep that healthy and alive. Try to make it a partnership versus a transactional relationship. And really what we've been trying to do is just kind of connect with them and find the low-hanging fruit that, the 80/20 or the 20/80, where we can come in and clean up, a good portion to get you a lot of the results. And really what we've been trying to do is, we could talk about MFA, we could talk about cyber insurance, but it's really kind of transitioning that into the business risk and explaining, things like wiring policies and, some of those things where it's like, well, this just makes sense, and it's trying to get them to understand some of those, translate the technical risk to the business risk, and let it sit with them and, actually resonate with the stakeholders. It's really kind of been what we've been trying to do. And as we've been ramping up the account management, we've been ramping up our security team. We've introduced like Blackpoint and a SOC over the last couple of years. So that's been a big help. And now, now that we kind of got things protected from the perimeter, it's kind of going in and having those one-on-ones with the stakeholders and trying to build that framework, over the year, to try to get everything up and running and up to snuff.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think that's a huge piece, that a lot of us have to go through a large learning curve of, in the sense of translating that technical to business risk, but also keeping it consumable, because it can get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly, in that sense too. Are you guys seeing any trends with, the types of security gaps that the average organization has, that you can speak to? You mentioned MFA. We still see that even in today's era, as a gap, but love to hear you speak to that as well too.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it, like you mentioned, you still have MFA, or you have holes that were created at some point that no one's, looking for. And those gaps and holes can just, someone excluded someone from a CA policy, or, something like that. And those are the things that if you're not looking for them and if you're not monitoring for those are the gaps that, pop up. But we're also seeing, just a lot of hygiene, going back through legacy environments, cleaning up, disabling things that just aren't in use anymore. Kind of getting back to that, hey, if you haven't offboarded them, we don't know that they have left. So kind of getting back and doing those thorough reviews over users and groups, over the years prior to disabling some of those policies. We all know users can make all the teams and groups they want or they used to. So trying to, get some of those cleaned up. A lot of like the meeting policies, the teams policies, the DLP policies, just a lot of the things that I don't want to say are more advanced, but just those things weren't necessarily done at the beginning, and kind of going back and getting those buttoned up. I would say definitely just a lot of the policies are what's missing, and the user education of explaining why we're disabling this and why it makes sense, and what we're protecting.
From the new client side, I think also our clients and any customer using an MSP should be holding the MSP accountable for what they're saying. And I think a lot of what we see is people think they're getting one thing, then they're going to market to look for a new provider, and they realize for the past 3 years they haven't been getting what they thought they were. So, just a reminder to our clients that they can always come to us too and say, hey, we think we're paying for XYZ. Can we go through this? So giving people the knowledge to ask good questions and question what we're doing, it only helps us get better and it helps them stay safe.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point on, just the client engagement model of that authenticity of like truly expressing what you're doing for them and showcasing to them. Some clients are not going to, pay as much of attention to some technical readouts, obviously, and things of that nature, but keeping an open door about, hey, the risk attack surface is shifting. These are the things that we got to keep on top of, because we hear a lot, some of those conversations are hard because the MSP has been positioning security as not necessarily a moving target, but hey, this is all inclusive of your package. Is the client's interpretation, at least, right? Whether they explicitly said that or not, is kind of the interpretation. So it does require not only a certain conversation to be had, but also, I believe, a certain clientele. So maybe, Julie, if you wanted to expand on that too, is there a specific clientele? You mentioned earlier that NIE looks for, a specific type of customer, to avoid the noise maybe, or the efficiencies that you're trying to derive as an organization. So I'd love to hear if you guys have like a target customer, or qualities that make up that customer type.
Historically, we've done a lot of work with nonprofits and manufacturing.
Cool.
Nonprofits are great because they want to stay protected. They have donor data that they care about protecting. So as we're acquiring new clients, it's very important to us that they are technology forward and understand that it's an ongoing investment. I think where a lot of software companies, MSPs, pigeonhole themselves is a client's a client. And we're really trying to look for a partnership of let's meet 3 to 4 times a year and have a real sit down conversation about what the next year looks like, what we're seeing in the market, and having them be interested in wanting technology to advance their business. And whether that's automating an email that someone's spending a bunch of time right now to send out, or they're getting new manufacturing equipment that needs programming on the back end that we're able to support them with. It can look like a lot of different things, but I think AI has blown up so much and people don't understand, or we've seen a struggle with having security requirements put in place before implementing these new shiny objects that could really destroy your business if there's not things implemented on the back end. So willingness to learn and a willingness to grow with technology are the 2 things we really look for in a new client.
Nice. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's going to make the client engagement so much better, just mutually from what you're trying to do. And you feel like everything that they're doing is an investment, not a cost, right? It's not a cost center, that we're trying to drive throughout our business. It's value driven, and the value proposition of streamlining that approach. And speaking of, AI, obviously it's a hot topic. Everybody's, I'm sure a lot of your clients are coming to you asking you the question of, how do I even get started, right? As part of this, I'd love to hear maybe Dustin, your guys' approach to this right now. Like, how are you responding to that question? Some of the things you might be thinking about. It's early on, so love to hear your insights on that.
Yeah, I mean, that question, it's definitely coming, and we know there's everyone else is still using it and they might not even be asking it.
Yeah.
So, really, what we're trying to do is, start with some of those data governance policies and leverage Microsoft. A while back, we mandated business premiums for everybody. And now we're starting to add some of those P2s for those additional features, really to kind of add that data governance, add those labels and sensitivity, and really not just add them, but explain what they are and teach them how to use them as well. Just kind of help them understand their data and where it is, what restrictions need to be put in place. Talking through like Copilot, it's not everybody's favorite, but it is super powerful. And we've had a lot of interest in that and trying to get that, set up where everyone in the past has shared a policy or shared a file with somebody, and trying to get those found and cleaned up and like corralled. It's like herding cattle. I'm a farmer, so it's like herding cattle. It's it just gets so widespread. And when you don't have those policies in place for 20 years, or however long your business has been running, and it goes everywhere. So really what we've been trying to do is talk through the risks, trying to teach them how to use it safely and how to use it correctly. Don't go throw your social security in there, or redact some of that information, and just kind of understand your data better and where it lies, who has access, and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. You touch on an interesting point that it's somewhat we're all looking at the next chapter, the evolution of the MSP equation, right? I think one of the reasons why the MSP equation has been successful, especially in the SMB market, is people look towards the expertise that MSPs bring to the equation. And a lot of it comes down to not necessarily having every last little bit of technical knowledge, but being able to advise and having advisory capabilities, whether that's you running some consultant services or professional services. But a lot of times it's in explaining the business impact of technology and what's changing. And we saw that from the very beginning of the cloud, then into security and advanced security concepts. And now we're seeing that again with AI. But it does require that MSPs kind of take a fresh approach with how they speak with clients, but even the types of personnel that they're considering adding to the team. It's no longer just, I don't just need somebody with really strong networking and Windows and Mac skills. I need somebody that can understand data governance, that can understand where risk might lie inside of a business. So when you're kind of contemplating some of that evolutionary step, how do you prepare clients, but also how do you prepare your internal teams for making those changes in focus?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. That's something we're trying to do and try to find the best way. I mean, my favorite thing to say is, you got to fail. You have to do things and fail, and that's like the best way to learn. So get hands-on with it in a safe space to fail. We have a lab environment, and come into here, use some of these tools on my own time. I love playing with like Intra. Merrill Fernando has like a Laka MCP server, which can administer your intra tenant. So really kind of trying to get involved and seeing where this is going, getting out ahead of it, playing with it, learning with it, understanding it, just using it really. There's definitely a hesitation, and I totally understand it. AI is wild. We're in this crazy time right now. But if you're not exposing yourself to it, if you're pretending it's going to go away, I don't think it is. I think it's here to stay. So it's like Google, right? Everyone said the search engine will never be anything, right? But if you used Google, you're going to be a much better anything than if you're not using it. Same thing with AI. If you learn to use it as a tool or an aid to assist you versus transplant your brain over, then you're going to have a lot of success with it. And, trying to expose yourself and use it, kind of have an understanding of it. It's really the only way I think you could even begin to wrap your head around it.
Definitely. NIE as a whole does a good job incentivizing our staff to upskill. We pay for trainings. They have bonuses based on training. So we really try to put money there. We all know money is why people do anything. So we really try to give incentives. They can pick which trainings they want to do. There's recommended paths for them, but if someone has an interest, there's someone on our team with a great interest in automation. They've been going in and cleaning up, environments for us internally, and hopefully externally next year we'll be able to offer project work for them, for some of our clients. And I think it's explaining to clients too the difference between automation and AI, because a lot of people throw, we want AI in our business, and from a sales perspective, I go in, it's like I don't know that it's AI that you want, but yes, there are processes that could be automated.
Yeah.
And explaining what that difference is, and that if there's not complete data, don't make a move because you don't really know if it's worth doing yet. So let's get the data in place, then automate a process.
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece. Big distinction, right? Because everybody's like, "Oh, I just want to do this," which is RPA, robotic process automation at its core of what a lot of people are looking for. I know you guys are deep into that too, with the workflow automations you're building, but there's nothing agentic necessarily in those workflows that you're building. It's just chaining events and working with triggers and basic concepts that have been around for quite some time. So it's interesting to see kind of this rise of interest where it's pointing back to this, and I think that'll get easier and easier to start to build those workflow automations with the technology in place. But you mentioned, Dustin, the Merrill's project there with the MCP server. I always thought that was fascinating in the sense of like, would you want to administer an intra tenant with just plain text, right? Like,
Yeah.
is that actually going to be more efficient? Probably, if Microsoft changes some things in the longer term, and you can just chat and say, take what this ticket asks for and do it, but have some QA and some guardrails around it. So I'm always fascinated by that as well too. But one of the
Yeah.
things, you guys were mentioning, Dustin, you mentioned, CloudCapsule is helping you guys kind of do this gap analysis and see, where there's some security gaps today in some of those client environments. If you could walk us through maybe how do you walk through the assessment yourself after you run a scan? Love to hear just kind of your mental thought process and around, doing the number one, the investigation of what's missing, but then two, how do you go action that, with your team or with the client?
Yeah. So the nice part is CloudCapsule gives you all those playbooks. So
Nice.
it's nice. That's really a nice place to start with, depending on what the problem is. Is it some licensing optimization and MFA? Then that's a great playbook. But, when you're doing an assessment for like a potential new customer or one of our existing ones, it's really just kind of going through. And I've stared at the Microsoft security baseline for a couple years now, and I think I have them all memorized just about. So I can kind of run through there and kind of at a glance kind of see where the major gaps are, where the major holes are. We might not get into getting everything locked down all at once, but just kind of seeing here's some easy spots that we can leverage with your existing licensing. We kind of have a rubric that we have, for some of those baselines that we would like to see for our customers, and just kind of going through there. And, because we deal with some schools, we deal with some nonprofits, there are areas where we kind of have to make an exception here or there. But really it allows us to kind of have a baseline to push, and really just kind of get everyone up to what we would consider our standard, for level one. And, as you mentioned, it's a constant moving target. It's always evolving. And that's the hard part is it's like you mentioned, you sell a security package and they think, okay, well, I got the security package, I'm done for life. And it's, it's trying to have that recurring conversation and trying to sell it in a way where it's like, listen, we were protecting you, but this new thing happened, and now we need to do this to protect that, and that's the hard part is trying to really get across that the cyber risk. I could show you any tenant, any Microsoft tenant, pull up their sign-in logs and they're getting hammered from China, Russia, Korea. But it's constantly evolving. It's, really trying to get them to understand that it is a moving target,
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece, right? It's like even if things are all quiet, the client assumes that no work's being done. So those are more of the things we're trying to work at too, to surface and for you to be able to deliver. Again, every client's not going to be looking at it or, read that. But even if you, to your point earlier, Julie, about those touch points throughout the year, if you bring that to them and say, hey, these are the number of alerts that were automatically remediated with, the solutions we put into place. You are getting attacked, for people trying to sign in through China or Russia or whatever. Just gives them that insight of like, oh, there's actually a lot, that's trying to come through the door that's being prevented here. So I love that, to be able to take that approach. How were you guys kind of managing security before using CloudCapsule? Just curious, like in the sense of like doing assessments or, reviewing the tenant with the client.
Yeah. So I asked for CloudCapsule when I became the CTO, and I saw our current environment. It had a lot of improvements. And you had just released CloudCapsule, and actually at the time, the essentials were free, so I plugged it in, saw a great report, and really the Excel data sheet was even better for me as a data person to go through the Excel CSV. But really, we got it to help ourselves, knowing that we would pay what it takes to have a great tool to see where our gaps are. So we originally used it just for us internally. We brought our security score from about a 25 up to a 92 using like Intra P2. So we really hammered, our user risk and sign-in risk policies, and leveraged a lot of the additional conditional access policies. And at the time, things like continuous access evaluation and some of those newer items that had just come out. So that's how we originally got started with it, and then it just became an obvious, very good sales tool, but on top of that, really a good security tool to see where everybody is. We've leveraged tools like SIP, to get that nice, report of everybody. But the nice thing about CloudCapsule is it really gets into everything super deep. It doesn't just show you the security score. It shows you the remediation, shows you where the errors are, shows you those additional resources. Really, it's not just telling you what's wrong, but it's giving you, here's how you go fix it, so it's not just telling you what's wrong. It's helping you get, remediated and helping get to that path of success, really.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to hear you guys were able to elevate the score, that fast, that quickly as well
Yeah.
too. I mean, I think even getting into the 90s for most people is a challenge. Obviously we're using third-party tools. We're having to be cognizant of the end user impact, when we roll these things out as well too. But yeah, on the sales front, I would love for you to speak to that as well too. You mentioned it's a good sales tool. If you could unpack that, that'd be awesome as well too.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think we got premium CloudCapsule like 2 months into me being here. I had no idea what it was at first. I got on the call. I was like, oh, this is great. From a sales perspective, the playbooks are really helpful because it helps me communicate before we speak to the technical team what they should expect. And it also helps during the sales process to, I guess, provide a free assessment for them. Everyone's always wanting an assessment. And a lot of times, as we all know, it's not always necessary, but I do think this one is necessary. I think knowing a starting point, even if they choose not to come on with NIE, the reporting that CloudCapsule provides for them, I love how it breaks down by hours, the estimated time to fix the issue. I think it really starts to show people you would need a team to fix these things. You can't just do it with one person. So even if you don't want an MSP partner, maybe it's worth hiring someone on a project basis to help get this cleaned up. And then once a year, a reminder of like, you don't know what you don't know. And I think technology for so long was something like, we're going to hide from it. Someone else is taking care of it. They're up to date. It can't be that anymore. At the end of the day, we're a technology partner, but it is your environment and you still have say over it. So if we can provide you the education, it obviously makes it a lot easier to sell something when there's data behind it. But the reporting is thorough and easy enough to read, or put in ChatGPT and have it dumb it down for you. Obviously redact all your information, but knowledge is power, especially on the cyber insurance side. We see so many companies get cyber insurance, they check the boxes, and then, oh, there's a breach. Well, do you have your documentation for ongoing training? Is MFA set up on everyone's account? And then they don't get paid out, and it's a big, oh, why didn't we get paid out? Well, 10 of your users refused to implement MFA. So
Yeah.
it's been really nice when they're renewing to say, here you go. You probably want to fix these things before you renew.
Awesome. No, that's great. I love the comments on needing a team. You know, the visualization behind how daunting some of these projects could be, even the basics, right, of MFA. If you think about half the organization not being set up for it today, it causes a big disruption if you just turn that on, you know, for productivity alone. But yeah, a lot of our partners are finding success in using projects as a concession, to your point, you know, where it's like, yeah, we would want to get them into a contract if it's a good fit mutually. But the concession would be, hey, we can earn some goodwill and prove ourselves out, you know, with doing this project and getting them aligned really quickly so they can see the power of what our team's like. And then move into, you know, the upsell, if you will, you know, with the managed contract again, if it's a good fit in the sense of the clientele there, as well too. So, yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of the playbooks, you know, that we built out were really focused in on the high level, you know, of the attack surface, right? Some of the areas where you could progress, where it's also a TCO conversation, you know, to the client if they're using other tools and they want to consolidate. How does that look for you guys today in the sense of, you know, you mentioned you use Blackpoint, right, for SOC, and extending your footprint. I always love that conversation because whether you're using Blackpoint or Huntress or whatever tooling there, you're extending your team's capabilities, and you're offering, quite significantly. But do you guys try to, you know, align to Microsoft stack for security in a lot of those cases, or how does that look for you guys today?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, we would typically piecemeal. So, you know, like you mentioned, we have Blackpoint for the SOC. We have another vendor for the EDR. We have another vendor for the PAM tool. So as Microsoft has come, you know, full circle and really pushed a lot of these security products out and has created a you know, harmonious ecosystem, you know, we have transitioned or are trying to transition there, more so trying to get away from the third party EDR, and start leveraging Defender. So that's, you know, we've rolled that out internally. And that's, you know, now we're working on getting that set up, you know, for customers and rolling that out, trying to make, you know, templates for it and, you know, basically dig into their EDR, try to leverage some of those other tools. You know, the zero trust conversation is never ending, and you know things like global secure access or you know private internet and you know items like that that Microsoft is releasing is really pushing you know us forward, you know, rather than going with another solution. You know, we already have a lot of those products in our licensing, or you know, it just takes a few bucks more a month to acquire that and add it on. So that's really what we're trying to do now is kind of shape that real security posture evolved around the Microsoft ecosystem and really try to you know ingrain that further. You know, there's nothing hooks into the Windows operating system as well as Defender, and it's just this you know single ecosystem where everything is sitting and working with one another. So
Yeah, and I think you touched on an interesting point that we're seeing across the industry in general, which is there's a lot of great products out there and they go deep in their particular vertical. But what we're seeing is, especially in the SMB market and with MSPs needing to use tools like SOC as a service and whatnot, we're seeing a shift more towards, hey, can I get this all in one, you know, under one umbrella? Because then I have a fighting chance at actually reporting it, you know, doing some incident response around it, being able to tell clients how they measure up, compared to standards and things like that. And it's tough, even if you've got some of the best tooling in the world, if it's not all integrated, it's very tough to make sense of it all and to report on it in a cohesive manner. So I do think that Microsoft first approach, even though it takes time to do that, you know, you have to kind of tackle it one title at a time in some cases. Like you're saying, you know, shifting EDR and then, you know, shifting data governance, maybe even for some folks, shifting their primary identity or MFA provider. You know, but just one step at a time, getting it all into one ecosystem so that it starts to be that harmonious piece that you mentioned, you know. So I think that's a great piece of the journey. So I'm glad to see you guys are taking that step.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that a little more, one of the things that as everyone is going through some kind of compliance or framework now, we're constantly getting these questions, and part of that, whether it's CIS or if it's CMMC or something, whatever the flavor is, one of those things is vendor management, and it's a lot easier to manage one vendor versus 15. So even on our side as the MSP, trying to get that vendor consolidation, and having those like shared responsibility and everything like that, it just makes it a lot easier when you're dealing with less vendors, less people to keep track of, less systems to train our techs on, less portals to log into, less systems to integrate back with SSO. It really just helps keep it simple.
Yeah.
Simplicity is the key. So
Yeah, we're aligned to that here. And when we go through our stock audits and reviews, they always ask, what vendors did you add? And usually it's like 0 to none, to 1, potentially, that we're looking at. And it's like, yeah, it was complexity is super low, for us to go through those and do this change management process around it even as well too. So makes a lot of sense. But one of the things as we kind of transition out here towards the end, I love to do in these videos is kind of do like a little rapid fire segment. And this is more random questions, no real rules, but try to keep the answers shorter if you can in nature. But I'll just kind of quickly fire these off. And you guys can both answer each one of these here. So first one is, what's one hobby or passion outside of tech you guys have?
Reading. I got a audiobook server, so always trying to add books and keep reading.
Nice.
I run, I work out a lot, and then golf and quilting is my newest hobby
Right.
around here.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, I like both of your answers there. I'm a big reader and I'm doing a marathon next week.
Very cool.
So,
Nice.
what's your favorite Microsoft 365 app?
Mine's a OneNote. That's where everything goes.
Nice.
I love to hate it. Teams. I use Teams a lot. I don't love that I use it a lot, but yeah, that's my answer.
Nice. No, it's been good. Dark mode or light mode?
Light mode.
Dark mode.
Yeah. That's what I would expect. Yeah, between you guys,
Yep.
the two roles there. What's one word clients would use to describe you? This one's hard.
Helpful. I hope.
There you go.
Reliable.
Nice. Okay. What's the best office snack?
We're Chicago, so I'm gonna say deep dish pizza.
That's
I don't know
snack.
if that's a snack, but yeah.
Okay. I'll take.
Yeah. It can be a
Probably
snack.
chomp sticks. I love the new beef jerky chomps. Those are delicious.
Okay. Nice.
All right. That's a wonder.
Awesome. All right. Last one. What's a security buzzword you're most tired of hearing?
I would say AI, but it's not security. So my next one would be zero trust.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
AI, I don't know. Yeah, AI or MFA. People really hate it until they know that it's good for them.
Nice. Yeah. That's fair. I mean, I think you guys could throw AI into this equation. Is definitely a little bit over the hype cycle here.
Everything's AI powered now.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I love that. I always mention is that SpongeBob meme of the rainbow and he's saying AI powered.
Yep.
It's just like every business now. So that's fair. Cool. Dan, you want to close us out here?
Yeah, well, it's just been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Julie and Dustin, for joining us. It's great to get an insight into the business, but also into both of your lives a little bit. Now we know what snacks to get you. So it's going to be really hard shipping that deep dish pizza, though. So I don't know. But no, we really appreciate you joining us. It's great to get that insight into the business and kind of get your perspective on how things are evolving. We really appreciate you being CloudCapsule partners, and let's stay in touch and really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
you.